without the microphone. Is that okay? I project. And hi everybody. So I'm just going to make some apologies and some thanks. Apologies, sorry I don't speak Malay, and I have a very thick Kiwi accent, and so I also tend to speak quite quickly. So I will try and speak a little bit more slowly, and hopefully you'll be able to understand me okay. And I went to a shadow puppet show on the weekend in the Kwan Valley, and it was completely in Malay, and I couldn't understand a word, but there were lots of pictures to look at, so maybe that will be the same today. I want to say thanks to BB for extending the invitation to me to come and speak today, and also I just want to thank the Asian New Zealand Foundation and Shalini Kinendra Fine Arts, especially Nai and Isabel there, and of course Shalini for making the residency available to artists and providing such superb studio and gallery spaces. Definitely go and have a look. It's very conducive to making work for me. And of course, thanks to everybody here for coming today. I know that you're all, you have exams and assessments coming up, and that you're all probably very busy, so I hope you get something out of the talk today, and I'm very pleased to be here. So I do tend to ramble, but please just ask questions at any time, or if you want to save anything up to the end, that's fine as well. So I thought I'd start with telling you a little bit about who I am. So I am Chris Bowl, and I live in New Zealand. This is Christchurch, which is where I live, and those hills in the very background there are covered in snow at the moment. It's a garden city, so-called garden city, based on the River Avon, and at the heart of the city is the Christchurch Cathedral, and this is what the cathedral looks like now. On February 22nd of 2011, Christchurch suffered a major earthquake, which very much broken Christchurch. It's a very different place to the city I grew up in, and we're undergoing, some major challenges to rebuild the city, and so it's a very transitional place to be in, and it makes it somewhat all the more enjoyable, I guess, to leave and be somewhere else that's functioning and allows me to get on with doing what I want to be doing, which is painting. So yeah, this is the state of the city at the moment. However, in Christchurch, which is in a state of recovery, I just thought I'd talk a little bit about my role there. I work at a place called Christchurch Art Gallery, which is the major public institution there. I'm an exhibition designer there. And the reason I sort of just wanted to talk about this a little bit is because it is a big part of who I am. It is my full-time employment. I paint in the evenings and on the weekends. I spend a lot of time in the studio, but I also spend a lot of time here working on other artist exhibitions. And we have an amazing team. I'm just one part of the team. I work with curators and artists and registrars. We have a permanent collection, so it's the major permanent collection for Christchurch, which we have, on different works from it on display at any one time. And I have no real say in what's on display at any point in time, but I have a big part in terms of how it looks. That's my role as a exhibition designer. Pre-Quake, we staged a major exhibition by Ron Newick, a major international sculptor, and we were really riding high. We had massive visitor numbers. We were proving to be very successful as an institution, and we were very rudely awakened by the earthquake. So we staged all sorts of shows. This would be a major international, a major New Zealand artist who is now deceased. This would be a family-friendly exhibition called Blue Planet, lots of interactive, very child-friendly focus. This is a show that involves a lot of display cases and small objects, major kind of installation-based exhibitions, big, large kinetic sculptures. This piece was, an engineering feat, really, and an example of us never saying no to an artist and just getting on with doing it. And that's how we attract shows like the Giacometti exhibition, which was again very, very successful. Ansel Adams, major international photographer. And at the same time, we also exhibit local artists. This is a show by Jason Gregg. All of these shows, all of these images are shows I've personally done the design work for. Julia Morrison, major national artist in New Zealand, and again another child-friendly exhibition called Art Detectives. This is the state of the gallery at the moment. We're closed to the public, so that's the permanent collection that we looked at before, and we're awaiting some major repairs. You can see all the roof tiles have fallen out of there. It was a pretty scary place to be in 2011, and we're awaiting some major re-levelling of our building, which will be a major feat in terms of basically jacking up the building and putting in what they call base isolation units, which will allow the entire building to move. But for that to happen, they have to purchase land beside us, and just lots of red tape and bureaucracy. That means we've been closed for 2 years, which is very tiring and very difficult. But we've pushed on, and we're still trying to bring art to people. This is utilising the outside of our building, a big white box there, and this is on the side of our building, huge mural. Abandoned houses. This is a nighttime projection by artist Ronnie Van Hout into rear projected in the window of the building. We've used show homes. We showed this in an actual house. This exhibition, any wall basically, we'll take and we'll put something on it. And no wall was too big. This mural took about 4 months. And it's got 10,000 little dots on it. It's about 35 metres long, and it's still there. We're also reproducing artworks, so displaying works in this way. Sometimes you can't put a painting in the street, but you can put a photograph of it in the street, and that's another method. We've also converted spaces in the city into galleries, which can be a big undertaking and can be fraught with difficulty, particularly access to spaces. Everything's just a little bit more difficult than if you're working in your own building. You know what it's like in the studio when you put a pencil down and go to the other side of the room, and then you're like, where's my pencil? Well, this is more like, where's my hammer? It's, it's in another part of the city. So we've had to utilise things like cranes and scaffolding sometimes to get artworks into buildings where there's only stairs and no elevators. This was a project by Michael Paratofi, New Zealand artist. He showed this originally at the Venice Biennale, and then it went to Paris, and then it came to New Zealand, and we were the first venue to show it. And it was this amazing carved Steinway piano that was played every day with accompanying performers, and was just proved, a very successful show in the city. And also accompanying it outside with these bronze pianos that had large, full, life-size bronze balls on them that stopped traffic. And again, they were just huge projects to actually undertake without the resources that we would normally have at our own gallery space. So I've been keeping busy, and we've even toured shows. This is an exhibition by an artist named Shane Cotton, and this went to Brisbane in Australia, and then this is in Sydney. I went with the show to install it as the designer, and it's even when we can't show in our own city, we're managing to take art to other people, and hopefully we will show these works at some point in Christchurch when we reopen. And so to my own practice, which I guess is what I'm really here to talk about, but just to give you that sense of what I do on a daily basis, and perhaps that informs my practice and the way that I work. This is me in a studio I had in a building in Litchfield Street. That building's no longer there. It came down in the earthquakes, and so I had already moved out of there anyway, and I work in a studio that I have at my own home. But even this studio is due to be demolished and rebuilt. The entire roof has slumped, and the back wall has bowed out and it's moved on its foundations. So it's not. It's kind of safe to be in there, but it's got a heap of boards kind of propping it up in the middle now, and it's not the most enjoyable place to make work. So I really look forward to when it's rebuilt, but I'm still waiting for that to happen. So before we go into my current work, just sort of show you where I've come from, and this work is over 10 years old now, but as you can see it's quite abstract. The panels, the inset panels are raw pigment, earth and clay and sand and stones that I had collected. I made a lot of this work for a long time, and the surrounding parts of it are very liquid, smooth surfaces. So it was juxtaposing those two things, but very abstract. And eventually I took that, I suppose, to its zenith. I took it as far as I could take it. It was as abstract as it could kind of be. I was pouring, I wasn't using brushes, I was just pouring paint onto canvas. I was working on the ground a lot. And these works were made just before I went overseas for an extended period to live in London and to travel throughout Europe, the UK, Indonesia, the Middle East, North Africa, United States, and during that time I saw a lot of things that inspired me to make a different kind of work. So when I came back a few years ago to New Zealand to live again, I hadn't made work for 2 years, and it felt like a very clean slate, and the world was my oyster. I could do whatever I wanted, and this is somewhat what I chose to do. And I just wanted to, before I go into the work that I've been making, I'll just sort of give you a little analogy. The photograph I took while I was overseas, I wasn't making work at the time, and I took it through a window, looking out the window of the Pompidou Centre, overlooking Paris. And when I took it, it was just one of many photographs that I took. It was just a snapshot, and I didn't think that much of it at the time. It seemed like a very generic photo, although it's a cool photo. I wasn't thinking anything more when I took it. This photo, on the other hand, is in the Nina Valley in New Zealand, in a place called the Lewis Pass. And to get here, I tramped for about 3 hours. I drove from my home into the pass, and then I tramped and stayed in a hut up the Nina Valley near a place called Devilskin Pass. And the next morning I woke up and it was just amazing mist, and I very carefully arranged this photograph, and I knew when I took this photograph that I would turn it into a painting. So the previous image, just a snapshot, had no idea what it would become. Maybe 2 years later, once I started making this body of work, very carefully composed photographs with the knowledge that they will become